It's a beautiful morning. Welcome to Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Ekpo Temple. On today's edition of the show, Mountain of Fires Miracle inch closer to title defense in Nigerian women's basketball. Nigeria Egypt dominate ITTF team event, and in football CAF wades into Libya Nigeria airport episode. Details of these and many more will be yours shortly after now. All right, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it is Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. So good to be back here in the studios. Mike, good evening and welcome. Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm clouded by the activities of the evenings, and maybe we're good to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much, Tempo, and good morning to our viewers out there.
We're going to start with basketball news here, where the Nigerian Women Basketball League is ongoing, and I can tell you for sure that the Mountain of Fires and Miracle are not doing badly at all, because they are the team. They're just one game away from defending their top flight.
You call it final because they just have one game in between them and success, you know, to defend the title they won last time. I think for Mountain of Fire, they've been one of the strongest sides right here in the country. When you talk about female basketball, or you talk about Mountain of Fire, you talk about Custom, you talk about, you know, First Bank, Royal Ace as well. I think for me, this season they've actually done beyond expectation, because making their debut appearance, I think nobody expected them to come this far, because some person thought maybe they don't have the experience and all of that. But then they were able to prove, you know, critics wrong. Getting to the at least a semi-final is not a bad outing for them. But then they came up against a very strong, you know, Mountain of Fire side that were ready, you know, to give their all in order to ensure they defend the title they won last time. And I think for me it was an impressive one. But then I think they still have one big hurdle to cross, because we are going to see the match between, you know, First Bank and Custom. Whosoever emerges in that very one, then he's going to take on MFM in the more like call it final in that very one. So for me, I think it has been an impressive ride for them. I think the MFM ladies and First Bank, they're the only two teams who haven't lost any game so far in this edition, and it clearly I mean shows their prowess so far. It's a big one for them, just a step away to defending the title they won last time out.
Mountain of Fires and Miracle, their intention is very known. Yesterday we saw how they started that game. You know, the edge in the first quarter, 29-15 points, and what the point margin there, just close, just 14-point difference between the both sides. An upset looked like set to appear on the card after Royal Aces rebounded with a shocking 15-06 point in the second quarter, giving them advantage. But however, Mountain of Fires, you know, moved harder, dig deeper, and their strength was clear, you know, to outscore Aces in the remainder of the quarters to seal the win. They will now play the winner between First Bank and Nigerian Custom, which you said about earlier. And when the result came, Queen Joseph, who happens to be the media officer of Rivers Troopers, and also, you know, of course, one of those lovers of basketball, she now chatted on the platform that we are, congratulating Godwin and Hannah for the good work he's doing. And then we asked the simple question: how did these ladies go? Because these are a new crop of players. Some of the players that did the one that last year are no longer in that team. Just one or two players that were retained. But this, they started rebuilding again. So it was more like an academy prospect. Their intention wasn't to go this far, but somehow they've defied all odds. And look at them. And the question is, the moment you have an institution on ground that builds, you just naturally have the talent coming in. So for Mountain of Fire as a Miracle, it looks like this is what we are known for. Let's continue to build. And the coach also was very fantastic, doing a lot of work. And for Enahana, he feels that the effort, if they get to win, that would be fantastic because they've really done a lot. Like Ren and Wakam, in fact, we are at some point, looking at her from the perspective of the way Ren and Wakam goes about her scouting policies, and it's going on well. Different players, yes, different set of players blended with the old ones, and you can see that when you nurture players within a short time, the result can be very clear.
Yeah, for me, I think it is the essence of having, underage team out there. Maybe call it more like the academy team. The reason of having them is to also nurture players that can also understand that it's not an alien to the philosophy of a certain team, that understand the policy, to which such team is going to. And for me, when you have such an academy on ground, you take care of them properly, help them to grow and improve on their games. It becomes very easy for them to graduate to the senior team out there, where they've already gotten used to the philosophy of the team. They don't need to struggle to fit in. They just fit in seamlessly. So for me, talk about some of the best academy. We've seen what they are churning out there, and it's very clear. Even you talk about, take it to the area of football, some of the biggest teams that are doing pretty well today, they have good academy or good scouting team that can help them to scout for players. And you hear the likes of the La Masia, you saw how the academy is doing. The Ajax, academy, one of the best. Southampton Academy in England, one of the best. So for me, I think you can also jettison the fact that the academy product, goes a whole long way to add more flair, more quality into the senior team if they are properly nurtured and properly taken care of. And that is what we are seeing right here in the female basketball. Yeah, they came and they blended well with some of the senior players out there. But then, for me, the real essence of having a good scouting team is for them to spot out good players at their tender age and bring them with a little amount of money, and help them to grow their talent. But when you have teams that doesn't have a good eye for, scouting, they just go and bring in different players that they think is a big name, and at the end of it all, they turn out to become a flop because they can't fit into the philosophy of a team. You just have, a race of stars, but not having a coordinated pattern of play. They are playing individualistic game. But when you have an academy, people that have, be there, they understand themselves, go to school, come back for training the same day, you do this, week in, week out, months, year. There is no how you cannot get, blended properly with your fellow players. So for me, I think that is the essence of having a good academy and also having a good scouting team.
Moving on, of course, we still have other stories popping out from the sporting world where Nigeria emerged victorious in the men's team event at this year's International Table Tennis Federation Africa Championship in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Yesterday, the Nigerian team triumphed in the thrilling final against Algeria, overcoming an initial setback to claim the championship. Olajide Omotayo took Algeria's Semi Karov in a closely contested opener, but kind of 1-3-2. Putting Nigeria ahead. However, Nigeria star Kwadri Aruna leveled the score with a 3-1 victory over Mahene Jauli. Matu Kuti then put Nigeria in the lead by dominating Mahedi Bella 3-0. In the final match, Aruna returned to face Karov and secured a decisive 3-1 win, sealing Nigeria's 3-1 overall triumph and the African title. This is fantastic to hear. It's been a long time we heard about this, but Mike, your say on this?
I think it was a great outing for Team Nigeria. Though we may want to say, Haruna Kodrick had to come to the rescue when we are down in the first set, but he came to the rescue, brought his wealth of experience to bear, delivered a 3-1 in the end, and thereby giving us the lead. And Motayo as well also finished the job and made it very, very safe for us. I think for me, it's looking likely that the Nigerian team are beginning to gain their place of prominence in terms of African tennis. If not for Egypt in the female category would have also won, but we came second in that very one. The Egyptians continued their dominance, but then he was the one to say, yeah, it is not a bad outing, winning the top prize in the female category, finishing second in the male category. No, finishing first in the male category and second in the female category. I think it is for me a good outing for Team Nigeria. But then my only worry is about the fact that some of these big names we just mentioned, Taiwo Kuti, Haruna Quadri, talk about Uduaka and all of that. These are the regular names we know in Nigerian tennis, game. What don't we have other new names? Can't we? Look out for other possible talents that is going to replace these aging names that we've had over the years. So these are the only worries, and I believe that the Tennis Federation is also looking towards that area to find possible replacement for the likes of Motayo, the likes of Duaka, the likes of Haruna Quadri. But in all, it is a good outing for Nigeria.
It is a good outing for Nigeria, and of course we'll get to see how far. And this beckons the question, without Haruna, it can be very difficult to win games because Haruna had to come in twice, to rescue. Motayo failed. He came to the rescue before Kuti did the stealing for Nigeria to ensure that Haruna had another time to play against Karov, to win in that particular one, which, so, but like you said, I mean, if Haruna is not in his best form, it's kind of difficult. Motayo has not really lived up to expectation. Kuti gradually is now building momentum, which I love. And I think that the moment you can get past the North Africans, because it seems to be the only challenge we have, when it comes to claiming rights in table tennis in Africa. And so we need to be at our best every time, to be. But the likes of Omar Assar, it looks like they didn't even go anywhere in this particular one.
Yeah, Omar Assar didn't go find this very well. Just about Adaguda that was able to make her presence felt in this very one. But winding back the hand of time to your earlier assertion that if Haruna Quadri did not come to the party, it looks as though Team Nigeria we are short of talent, to compete favorably well against the North African countries. And for me, it's a big worry because we can't be relying on the heels of Haruna Quadri every time. You could also remember the last time out when Team Nigeria went for the World International Table Tennis competition out there. 24 hours before that competition, Haruna Quadri got food poisoning. He was unable to, continue to take part as a Team Nigeria. We went out there. We failed woefully just because Haruna Quadri wasn't there. And for me, we can't continue to rely on the strength and skills of only one man. It looks as though one man is running the show. It shouldn't be that way in a country where we have, talents cut across every state, including the Federal Capital Territory. We are just allowing one man to, shoulder the burden of a whole country. I mean, for me, we need to do a lot. The Tennis Federation need to start to, fashion out a way that we can be able to unearth talent that can also take their place of pride to take over the baton of leadership from these big names that we are hearing, so that at least we'll have, when you talk about tennis, you have like 20 names coming in from Nigeria that is ready to vie for honor. And that makes it even easier.
Because I know for sure that there are talents in Nigeria when it comes to table tennis.
What are we not saying?
I mean, go to the street.
What are we not saying?
I say even feel that there are talents that are better than the rest of Haruna Quadri. When I say so, I mean, I know disrespect Haruna Quadri, but I feel that there are young talents who, if you blend them well, because I mean it's about energy. I mean look at what the likes of Yannick Sinner and others are doing in tennis. Novak Djokovic might be very experienced, but the energetic flair that comes with the experience, sometimes matters a lot. Which as you grow in age, it diminishes.
True.
And what we see from these young Alcaraz, Sinner getting past at major tournaments. And that's why I say clearly that when you scout talent from the grassroots, bro, you'll be surprised. I mean, the likes of Omar Assar when they started, I mean, there's Adagula, like you mentioned, and the other young star from Egypt. These are players. Go to India, go to Japan. At the Olympics, we saw it clearly. So I think that if we have a good scouting policy, where these talents are generated from the states, groomed, it's easier. Yes, I know the problem has always been funding challenge. How will we fund them? But that's why they adopt an athlete or adopt a star initiative was sometime initiated by some direct administration. But regardless, let's get the talent. Let it not be that we don't have enough money to fund them. Nothing is wrong if over the time you have trained a particular talent and then you feel that okay, let's showcase them. For me, it's a gradual process, and that's what the Lawn Tennis Association are doing in Nigeria. You know, they bring some of this quadri, there's a certain quadri in long tennis in Nigeria who is doing quadri. Those guys are doing so well. Give them small, and then showcase them, and then move them to international level for the exposure. But I feel that continuing with the same set of persons sometimes will not them F Young, mention them. For me, I just feel that we still have a lot of talent out there. What is the essence of the youth games? What is the essence of the National Sports Festival? Where you see this talent abound. But at the end of the day, you don't get to pick them, and that's why a lot of persons are still cushioning, you know, the transition we are creating, because these names will still be the same names that will, you know, feature next year. And you're asking yourself, is it the only names that can win us trophy? If they are not there, can't we win? At least in the continent of Africa.
It's a big question, and it is only left on the table of the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation to sort it out. But I tell you, there's anything to go by the National Sport Festival that we've been organizing. The last edition has come and it has gone. In the next edition, you begin to ask yourself, what are the names that, where are those names we had in this year's edition of the National Sport Festival? You know, it's a big issue. You can't even place hand on one or two of them. It is only Lagos State that is doing something remarkable. Lagos State, courtesy of an individual, organized a table tennis event starting from every ward down to the local government. Coming from the purse of an individual, one who loves tennis, and he wants to invest his money to churn out talent. Lagos State right now, it is local government by local government. They've segmented it. You know, after you finish from this local government, that competition, then you transit to the next, you know, outing. And that is how they are building and getting out talent from there. Then it is an individual that is doing that. Then you begin to ask yourself, what happened to the federation, like tennis federation itself? What are they doing? The little that they were supposed to do, send your delegates, send your scouting team to go
those
to
tournaments.
Select best of the best, because I tell you, we have them. Go to Oshodi, the underbridge. You see massive things going out there.
That's what they do for on daily basis.
Yes. Some of the, you know, big talent, the man who went for Guinness World Record, was discovered in the Oshodi Bridge. Then go to Igomode Grammar School in Ogun State every Saturday. Go to Sangota, the recreational center there. You get to see things. There are talents bound, but then you find it difficult to hear some of these names. Maybe if you don't have somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, then it becomes a difficult challenge. And that is why we keep talking about corruption. It has eaten deep into every sector, and we need to have a change of mind if you truly want to reposition this country for better in the areas of sport and all angle, not just sports alone.
I was coming back from University of Port Harcourt yesterday where I went for a seminar presentation, and I saw in a closet snooker, table tennis. I saw a lot of guys doing that, and I saw talent. I stood there for like 10 minutes to watch what is happening, and I mean I was very impressed. Even if they do it, you know, out of who gets to win, you know, winner takes all, but I was impressed with the talent I saw. And I think that it doesn't take anything to host those things. I was even thinking of talking to the SUG. I said, in your games, these are things you need to host. Maybe partner with them to see how far. But, I mean, I'm just thinking as an individual, there are a lot. If our administrators want to work, Mike, there are a lot of areas they can invest that time. In a leap year, or let's say a year, ask yourself as an administrator, you are an administrator in charge of table tennis or a particular area of sporting unit. What have I done? the year is coming to an end where we begin to ask a lot of questions. You know, what have I done in this state, in this state, in this state? What have I done? Except for Delta State that have a strong sports commission that monitors activities of all the sporting units. And in a state like Rivers State, you ask yourself, what is happening? What is happening in other areas? Before we used to have snooker tournament. This says, I mean, it doesn't even happen, but I see guys playing snooker. I'm even thinking of, okay, partnering with some other corporate hands to see what we can do to revive that tournament anymore. But there are a lot of things to do, but it looks like, man, if you don't have money this time around, but I don't even think it's about money, because the moment you show the interest and passion, there are people who can always partner with you. That's what I think. Even if you start small, there are people who always partner with you. But it looks like our administrators are in for a different, their thoughts are different from our thoughts altogether.
It's a big worry, and we'll keep hammering on these issues until we get a possible solution to some of these issues. You talk about earlier we talked about the female basketball team, different teams, how they are doing pretty well. Do you think that would have been possible if the organizers have not been able to prepare themselves very well? I mean, the female basketball right here in the country is gaining momentum. When you are hearing the likes of Custom, MFM, First Bank. Now you begin to ask yourself, how do they do it? Why is this consistency over the years? Because they have packaged their game in a way that it has attracted sponsors. They have never lacked of sponsors.
Yeah, one of the most consistent.
There's a certain financial institution that is sponsoring them, and they have never cried about.
And they have never regretted.
Never, because they give you what you want out there. So for me, it's about packaging the federation, the ministry where you are serving as a head in a way that you will be able to attract, individual or institution that can also put their money there. So for me, we need to do a lot of thorough work need to be done by the tennis federation.
And more of that is the lack of consistency. You do something this year, the next time we do it again is, not like now we're having sports, national youth games on yearly basis. States will now wake up to know, okay, we have to be there. National Sports Festival every two years. States now know that this is what we need to do. So by so doing, I mean, you do not lack talent. That's what I'm saying. You do not lack talent. But away from that now, let's talk about tennis proper, where Australian Negricos says he wants to shut up those who doubt him and win a Grand Slam. 29-year-old, one-time world number 13, has played just one ATP tour singles in 2 years after suffering new foot and wrist injury, and has hinted at retirement a number of times. He told a channel that he will return for the World Tennis League event in Abu Dhabi in December before January's Australian Open, and he is known for being very controversial. It looks like this man is gradually coming back or preparing to come back to the court.
Just like he said, he's known for his controversial actions and statements. Many times you will come to say that he's retiring, all of a sudden he changes his mind. He has done that not just once, not just twice. But then I also think that injury has blighted his stay or reign in the game, because he has suffered too many recurrent injuries every season, and it has not actually allowed him to be at the best form, to compete at the highest level. But then while he was away from the game actively, I think he was still very, very active behind the scene, because he was serving as commentators or doing some commentary on some of the games out there. So at least he still have a depth knowledge of the game. But you having an in-depth knowledge of the game is quite different from you practicing it or playing it. That you have not been on the court for a quite long time to practice, for a game, because the training regiment of you just trying to keep yourself fit is quite different from the training regimen that you want to play a tournament and you have some big name opponent standing before you. You have to work extra hard. So for me, despite still having the knowledge of the game, because having been worked as in one of the commentators, at least he has something to offer. But then it goes beyond that. It's about his fitness level. This time around, if he comes back, will he be able to catch up with the Gen Zs, the likes of Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner, Taylor Fritz, Stefan, Jack Draper. These are some of the names that is still making waves right now. Now that the big name, the big four, is almost winding down their career, I think it's just remaining only Novak Djokovic. Likes of Rafael Nadal is gone, Roger Federer, they've done their part. So for me, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to achieve that Grand Slam that he's aiming. Having seen the likes of Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz already making a very strong statement as who is who when it has to do with long tennis right now.
Who is who when it has to do with long tennis? And I can tell you for sure that last week, Rafael Nadal announced his retirement, and Djokovic, now 37. Because has been working as a commentator, of course, but like I said, it goes beyond that. For me, when it's your prime, you just have to retire and do the needful. Moving on, the association, of course, as Yannick Sinner wonders where he could be banned for failing 2 doping tests. The player association is asking the Grand Slams and 2 majors to pay for a legal defense fund for athletes. The professional tennis player was created in 2019 and aims to increase player power within his sports. It believes the 4 major, the men's ATP tour and women's WTA tour, should fund access to third-party lawyers, so financial resources are not a barrier to a speedy and authoritative defense. Mike.
Yeah, I think the Players Association, they are trying to look out for their own, advising Yannick Sinner to take a legal stand and maybe call a suitor that can also work in the same camp with him to also achieve his aim of, cleaning his name from this mess that we are hearing. Though we've heard that it is not his fault, that it was his physio that actually put something that looks more like a contaminated substance in his body. For me, that does not hold water, whether he's aware or not aware. But then I think the Players Association, they are also trying to look out for their own, and that is why this advice is coming very timely. But I think for me, it would be a good one. It's a good advice, only if Yannick Sinner can take the advice, and get a legal backing that can help him also, come out of this mess. Because I tell you, the backlash that he's receiving presently from ex-players, even some present players, is something that need to be worried. And they are raising very vital questions that this man did not just fail the doping test once, but twice. And then what happened? Some point was deducted from him, and he was levied some fine, financial, fine out there. So from this 2-step, it is very clear that he has been indicted. Because if he's not indicted, points would not have been deducted from him, and he kept quiet. Financial imposement wouldn't have been common, and he kept quiet. And so it means he's inadvertently, admitting
to the crime.
So for me, I think it would be very nice for him to, accept that advice, because I tell you, the backlash he's receiving presently, I think it's not befitting for his own caliber and what he has achieved in the game. We saw other players in the past who, were caught in the same web of doping issue, being banned some 8 months, some 1 year, some 1 year and 6 months, some even 2 years. And they are raising the question, is there double standing in when it has to do with the professional tennis integrity unit? They are saying that it looks as though there is a double standard in the way they are carrying out there. So for me, I think it is high time that you take the advice, push for a legal backing, so that you see whether you can be able to deliver yourself from this mess. Because I tell you, if you do not at the end of it all get a favorable judgment from the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, then maybe some of these titles that he has won will be retrieved from him, and further sanction will be meted on him, maybe 2 years ban and all of that. Because
the thing start counting from that is the US Open that he won.
Yeah.
That tournament that he
Australia Open as well count as well before you talk about the Shanghai Masters.
So he has won almost 6 or 7 titles this year alone, and that tells you that he's in for something. But like you said, I mean, it is even difficult when ex-players are talking about you. It's difficult because for them, especially those ex-players who have been guilty or who have told that road, victim of such circumstance, it's difficult for them to back you up because to them, if the same thing was meted on us, they also fought.
Yeah.
You know, and for you to say, but it's difficult also when the integrity unit go their findings and adverse findings or effect is discovered. It is difficult to really say that they are wrong. That was even in the case of our motion that time. We knew that something went wrong. The only thing we are only being sympathetic, and this is because we are Nigerians, and we know that if not for the fact that they had strong lawyers, who could defend, and Amoshu did not do those things unintentional. So a lot of factors, and it's not just about doping case; it's about her whereabouts. So I think that for the moment something is found in your blood system that does not tally, and you say you have failed doping test, Mike, is always difficult to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's difficult. It is 99% cases have never won. It's always difficult because it's at the end of the day, you going for it. The only thing that they can do for you is to reduce the ban, the length or the period of your ban, and then depend on your argument in the court of arbitration for sport. But let's hope that he has a very mental strength, very strong mental ability that has kept him going. And when you're in this kind of case, psychologically, if you're not strong enough, you may not win titles. But somehow, you're still winning titles, and those titles that you're winning, you need to use the best of your money, your cash, the best experts to standing for you. And someone was telling me yesterday that if he wants to win, he should go to Manchester City and get the lawyers there. Those lawyers are they are trained for the investigations like this, and they can help him out. All right, that will be all in the first quarter of the program. But we'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll still have more here on football, and of course more from the Super Eagles camp. Alright, welcome back. It's the second part of the show this morning on Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network, and still have Mike here in the studio. Let's start with the Nigeria Premier Football League. We are match day 6 continues to elicit reactions, and the Rivers United technical advisor Finidi George has attributed his team's effort, to a lot of factors, and clearly it was the draw against Katsina United. To him, it was due to harsh weather. That's according to what he said, that his team deserved more from that game. However, he acknowledged that Katsina United are also very good, very difficult side, and somehow he feels that harsh weather, should be able to should cope with every weather, and that's why you see sometimes come out and train in harsh weather so that you acquaint yourself. I've seen coaches, coaches who do exploits. I was watching one documentary about Pep Guardiola and how he trains some of his players in the thick of the winter, thick of the rain. That's how he'll call them early morning to come for training or in midnight. Sometimes so that you can adapt to any weather. And but when we hear a coach saying that harsh weather, I mean, I'm just thinking that it's just one of those things in football. But they were able to grant at one point.
Yeah, for me, I think he need no complaint because the harsh weather is talking about the players that are playing there. They're no humans. The Nigerian weather, the Nigerian climate is more like a general thing. But exception of certain difference of maybe degrees Celsius in the northern region where sometimes their climate is always higher. In their Celsius, in their degrees Celsius, maybe sometimes 35 degrees Celsius, then you're having 28 or 31 down here in the south, but it is a little bit of difference, but then I still do not think that is the reason why they were unable to get all 3 points. I just think that football sometimes, when you plan your own game the way you're going to work, your opponent as well, they are also strategizing in order to nullify your own plan as well. So I think you need not to complain because other teams have been playing there. Other teams have gotten 3 points there in time pass. So it shouldn't be a case of whether that was the reason that Rivers United was unable to grab all 3 points. I just think that it is football.
It's football. Meanwhile, Abia Warriors technical advisor Imama Mapakabo has described the narrow victory over Kwara United as a valuable point. Mapakabo believed that the win will help the team back on track after their disappointing result in Enugu last week. Yeah,
let's see. Let's see. If they can build on this result, it's going to be a good one for Imama Bakabo and his boys out there. Though not starting the season in a very good form, but at least they are beginning to at least show some strength right now that indeed they are ready for the new season.
The Nigerian Football Federation have submitted the Flying Eagles 20-man list to the organizers of this year's CHAN, and it is believed that a lot of activities here this particular one will be hosted by Togo. The list consists of notable names like Daniel Daga, Nathaniel Wosu, Bemaye Daniel. Was compiled by coach Aliyu Zabiru. The 20-man list has other players that are preparing for this particular one. These days, when you talk about because of the decline in the level of play and the performance of the age grade teams, a lot of people are no longer interested in how far these players are going. Before, we used to be interested in under 17, under 20, under 23, but now it looks like everybody just focus on the Super Eagles because that's the one they are familiar with. But before now, when you mention names, like Bamaye, you'll be familiar with it. But these days, I mean, it looks like nobody cares anymore because of poor performance.
Yeah, but I think this, very under 20 team, they are very exceptional for this year, going by the names and the performance of the players in their different clubs out there that have actually taken time to study. I think it's going to be one of the best team in this competition because it houses some of young and talented, vibrant. Future Super Eagles player that I'm seeing, the likes of Daniel Daga, of Enyimba, the player from, Remo Stars as well. So for me, I think it comprises some of the best and talented squad right now as it is. So for me, I think I'm very, very hopeful and very optimistic about this under 20 team this time around.
And then we face Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire in Group B, while Group A consists of Ghana, Togo, Niger, and then Benin Republic. The regional competition will commence on Thursday, 17th October, when host Togo will take on Niger at the Kegu Stadium. Nigeria will play Burkina Faso in Group B opener on Friday, 20th October, and let's get to see how far that goes. All right, moving on. Super Eagles have arrived in the country following their unpleasant experience in Libya. Both players and officials landed at the Aminu Kano International Airport on Monday, that was yesterday night. The contingent were stranded at the Al Abak Airport in Libya for over 19 hours after arriving in the North African countries on Sunday. And of course, on your screen there, you can see some of the players. They are also preparation to return back to the country and all that. But Mike, a lot of person have talked about this saga, but what we're looking at now is what next now? What next after all this shenanigans, issues that has posted the image of Africa in a very, very bad light?
I think the issue now rests with CAF to also fish out who and how this embarrassment came about, where the Libyan authority actually treated the Super Eagles with such a disdain, with such a disrespect. I think for me, it's very, very uncalled for. We hear that the matter has been referred to the disciplinary committee of CAF. Let's hope that they are going to do their fact-finding properly and come out with something very concrete, so that the required punishment will be meted out to, Libya. We also hear that the Libyan, football boss have also resigned. Maybe because of this issue, I don't know, but then he has resigned. He has tendered his resignation the last 24 hours.
And that causes, if they are claiming that what they did was not in any way conspiracy against Team Nigeria, why resign? Or maybe the country would have also forced him, because I mean, you can't hide the truth. Maybe for him to have resigned, something is wrong in the board, also the government. They would have known what was going on, because he couldn't have just resigned. He couldn't have just resigned at the tick. So resignation implied that something is wrong. Something is
certainly wrong somewhere, because you don't expect him to have resigned without such embarrassing issues. I mean, this has gone global, and it is a dent, a slap on the image of African football, because it has gone viral. And for me, more like going back to the dark age of playing such dirty antics in order to gain cheap advantage for a team that any day, anytime, they can floor you, even at your own home ground, because you can't compare the qualities of players in the rank of Super Eagles and that of Libya. You can't. There is nothing at all that you will say, yeah, they came here, tried to play some of those dirty, arts right here with all their delaying tactics and all of that. First, when they came into the country, an arrangement was made with them. They were supposed to follow the protocols laid down, because as you are coming, you need to inform the protocol team of the country you are going to. They will make the arrangement known for you. This is where we have made arrangement was made for them at the Gospel Pavilion at Uyo. But then, suddenly, they diverted on their own, decided to land at Port Harcourt. Whereas arrangement has been made for you guys already. Now, they said, okay, no problem. To them, they say they don't have the financial muscle to book another flight right from Port Harcourt down to, Uyo. And the protocol teams of Nigeria had to send a very good and a secured bus to come and pick them here with even escorts. So how did they turn back to say that they were poorly treated right here? Maybe that is the reason where they wanted to retaliate and had to, hold our players to ransom. I mean, dangerously diverting a plane that was meant to land at Benghazi intentionally. That is, a very dark art for me. And it doesn't depict good for the image of African football. The lives of our players were in danger. They stayed more than 20 hours without food, without water, without Wi-Fi. So that is how bad it were. So I think for me, CAF, they need to come up with a stiffer, sanctions, because we hear that the team is already back yesterday to the country. We wait for the decision of the CAF disciplinary committee, whether they are going to award the Super Eagles all 3 points and 3 goals, or they are going to postpone the match and fix a date in a neutral venue where the match will be played. We'll just wait to see.
And that's a point of discussion, when we come back later this evening. At what point will this match be played? Because we'll have the last qualifiers next month. That will not determine, who qualifies and who. So that's a big question. When will this be done? But let's keep away. I mean, when we come back later this evening, we'll have more time to really discuss this. A lot of reaction and a lot of news still popping out, but we will still await CAF to know what CAF will do in this instance. So anytime to you, Mike, for being part of the conversation here.
Always a pleasure.
My name is Ekpo Temple. We'll be back 6 p.m. for Sports Extraordinary. Then have a lovely time on Atlantic Television Network. you.